The curse you cannot speak is often the curse you can teach. Balaam, the prophet for hire, could not speak the words of doom over Israel. The mouth of the Lord was stronger than his wallet. But as his prophet evaporated, he realized a terrible truth. You cannot curse what God has blessed, but you can teach them to curse themselves. He gave King Balak the fatal strategy: introduce compromise. If you cannot defeat them in war or through magic, defeat them through seduction and idolatry. Israel was camped on the plains of Moab, separated from the Canaanites only by the Jordan River. And there, the daughters of Moab began to mingle with the men of Israel, inviting them to their sacrifices, their feasts, and their gods. What began as intermingling quickly became spiritual and moral treason. Section 1. The Plague and the Compromise. The men of Israel ate the food and bowed down to the gods of Moab, most notably to Baal of Peor, a deity of sensuality and fertility. The camp, which had stood as an untouchable, divinely separated people, was now corrupted by a seductive slow-motion surrender. The anger of God burned hot. A sudden, terrifying plague broke out in the camp. Thousands began to drop dead. The consequence for compromising the covenant was swift, absolute, and visible to all. Moses, the elders, and the leadership were at the entrance of the tent of meeting, weeping and pleading for mercy, watching the judgment unfold around them. The Lord commanded Moses, "Take all the leaders of the people and execute them before the Lord in broad daylight, so that the fierce anger of the Lord may turn away from Israel." The leadership was to be held accountable for allowing the compromise to enter the camp. The people were already dying, and the elders were paralyzed. Section 2. The Uncompromising Challenge. It was at this moment of absolute moral failure and spiritual paralysis that the ultimate symbol of compromise made its dramatic appearance. While the elders wept, a man named Zimri, a leader from the tribe of Simeon, decided to make a public statement of defiance. In full view of Moses, the elders, and the entire weeping congregation, Zimri marched a Midianite woman, Cosbi, into his tent. This was not a private sin. It was a brazen, contemptuous display of rebellion against God, against Moses, and against the very judgment currently killing his people. He flaunted the very sin that had brought the plague. The compromise had moved from a quiet surrender to a shameless public mockery of the covenant. A young priest watched this unfolding sacrilege. His name was Phinehas, the grandson of Aaron. He saw the plague and the people dying. He saw the leaders weeping, and he saw Zimri's sneering, arrogant act of defiance. He understood that the plague would not stop until the source of the compromise was removed. Section 3. The Act of Zeal. Phinehas did not hesitate. He did not ask Moses for permission. He did not stop to consult the law. He was moved by an absolute, white-hot, uncompromising zeal for the honor of God. He grabbed a spear, left the weeping assembly, and followed Zimri and Cosbi into the tent. What happened next was a singular, bloody act of divine justice. Phinehas thrust the spear through Zimri and the Midianite woman, piercing both of them. The two bodies lay impaled, a terrible sign of the fate of those who merge the sacred and the profane. It was shocking, it was visceral, and it was instantly effective. The act of zeal by one man accomplished what the weeping of the entire assembly could not. The plague was immediately stopped. Section 4. The Covenant of Peace. The final death toll was 24,000 people, 24,000 lives lost to moral and spiritual compromise. But Phinehas's act of zeal saved the rest. God spoke to Moses and declared, "Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, has turned back my wrath from the children of Israel, because he was zealous with my zeal among them, so that I did not consume the children of Israel in my jealousy." Because Phinehas had demonstrated a perfect, pure zeal that matched God's own passion for the covenant, he was rewarded with an eternal hereditary gift. Behold, I give him my covenant of peace. The paradox is profound. Phinehas secured a covenant of peace through an act of radical violence. The peace he received was not the absence of conflict, but the assurance of an unbroken relationship with God, secured by his uncompromising defense of the covenant's purity.
Compromise is cheap, but zeal is the currency of the covenant. The greatest gift a leader can give is a refusal to yield on what truly matters. The price of your spiritual integrity is your peace. This scroll is for you if you have compromised out of convenience. This scroll is for you if you need to remember that sometimes a single, uncompromising act of courage can change the destiny of thousands. The covenant of peace is only given to those who are willing to fight for the sanctity of the covenant itself.